All right, well, we're going to continue solving quadratic equations. We're going to do this by completing the square. So we're going to solve each equation by looking for that x-intercept, and we're going to be completing the square, but this time we're considering when the a term does not equal 1, because we have to look at that a little bit differently. So number 25, my a term is 4. It's not 1, so it's 4. So I'm going to deal with it this way. I'm going to divide both sides by 4, because that is going to bring it to 1, and I end up with a squared minus 2a equals 6. I'm going to complete the square for the left side, so remember to do that. I got to take my b term, which is negative 2. I want to use half of it, and I'm going to square it, and that gives me 1. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So I end up with a squared minus 2a plus 1 equals 7. My left side now is a perfect square, so I can see that it's a minus 1 squared equals 7. I'm going to square root both sides, so I have a minus 1 equals plus or minus square root of 7, and the square root of 7 is 2.65. Okay, so I'm going to write that in here. So a minus 1 equals 2.65, or a minus 7, nope, a minus 1 equals a negative 2.65. And so if I add 1 to both sides, I end up with an answer of a equals 3.65, or a equals negative 1.65. So my answers for this equation is negative 1.65 or 3.65. Let's try the second one. Okay, so this one I do have my c term of minus 10. Now I can either divide everything by 2 now, or I can do it later. I am going to do it second. I'm adding 10 to both sides, so I can end up with 2y squared equals 8y plus 10. And now I'm going to divide everything by 2. And again, you could have done that earlier, and that would have been just fine. Y squared minus 4y equals 5. I'm going to find my, I'm going to complete the square by my new c term. So I'm taking my b term. I want half of it, and I want to square it, and I end up with 4. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides, getting me my perfect square, which is y squared plus 4y plus 4 equals 9. Because this is a perfect square, I know it is y minus 2 squared equals 9. Let's continue with my solution. Square root everything, so I get y minus 2 equals plus or minus square root of 9. Square root of 9 is 3, so my two equations is y minus 2 equals 3, or y minus 2 equals negative 3. If I add 2 to both sides, I end up with y equaling 5, or y equaling negative 1. Answer for that one would be negative 1 or 5. All right, let's look at our next one. Number 27. Now this one took me a couple times to solve as well, and I'll tell you where my errors were being, or I created my errors. So for this one, I decided instead of adding 15 to both sides, I tried just dividing everything by 5 to start with. And you, again, can do either way. So when I simplify this, I end up with n squared minus 3/5 n minus 3 equals 2. I add 3 to both sides, and I end up with n squared minus 3/5 n equals 5. I want to complete the square, and this is where I started running into errors when I was completing my square, because I ended up with taking my b term, which was negative 3/5. I wanted half of that, and I wanted to square it. So negative 3/5 divided by 2 ends up being 3/10. And I wanted to square that, and I actually end up with all that being 0.09. So that's what I'm adding both sides to. I'm adding 0.09 to both sides. And that's where my error was. When I was completing the square and finding my new C term, I kept coming up with a few funky answers. When I did it right though, I got 0.09. Let's continue. My new equation is n squared minus, I went to decimals on this one. 0.6n plus 0.09 equals 5.09. Perfect square on this one would be n minus half of my b term, which is going to be 0.3 squared, and this is going to equal 5.09. Let's give ourselves a little space, or a lot of space. All right, let's do some square rooting. N minus 0.3 equals plus or minus the square root of 5.09 is 2.26. So the two equations I'm working with is n minus 0.3 equals 2.26, or n minus 0.3 equals negative 2.26. And when I add 0.03 to both sides of the equations, I end up with n equals 2.56, or n equals negative 1.96. My answers being negative 1.96 or 2.56. A lot of details to keep track of and keep an eye on them. All right, for 28, 29, and 30, why don't you go ahead and pause them and work them out. I'll work out problem number 28 and press play, and pause again, work out 29, press play, and so you can do them individually. So do 28 and then check your work, do 29, check your work, do 30, check your work. So let's pause, work out problem number 28. Ready, and 3, 2, 1, go. Pause, go pause. All right, let's see how you did on 28. You might want to press pause and check your work, because I'm going to press pause right now again. So take a look. If you did pretty good, feel good about what you did. Once you work on 29, I'm pausing in 3, 2, oh, early. All right, take a look at how you did on problem number 29. If you feel good about it, if you got r equals negative 7 or 1, then go ahead and move on to 30. I'm pausing now. Oh, crazy sounds in my classroom. All right, and there's number 30. I got v equals negative 2 or v equals 7. All right, a lot of details to keep track of, so don't hurry through these. It takes a process. Speaking of process, I'm going to go and see if I can find any old ladies that are stuck in a tree that need just a little bit of help getting down.